Hello. For quite some time, I wanted to make this video about flat Earth astrology. So this might be some kind of a special topic. First of all, there are not that many people who are astrologers or know astrology really well. So the target group here, or for those who might be interested, it requires actually some basic knowledge of astrology. I'll try to make it simple to the extent that that is possible, but it's also to inform those who are on board with flat Earth what consequences it does have for astrology. And so, first of all, as I say, there are few astrologers, and there are even more few astrologers who know that the Earth is flat. Okay, I'm among those exceptions. And I experienced the same kind of resistance within the astrological community towards this topic as in the general population. So most astrologers, they are completely into the heliocentric model and are totally against anyone who's kind of airing the idea that might be something wrong with that model. They have kind of worked so hard to learn their astrology, and where the concept of the solar system, the way the heliocentric model is describing it, is so kind of ingrained in their mind that they can't think outside of that box. That's unfortunate because the heliocentric model is not true. So I will not in this video go that much into the arguments for the flat Earth. That people have to go elsewhere to do the ABC of flat Earth. But just as a starter here, so the thing is that what I call true geocentrism is what has been around all the time in astrology. That astrology is geocentric. It doesn't mean that the Earth is a spinning ball. Which, when you say to someone that talk about the geocentric model, they did this thing in the history books. They said that when Copernicus came with the heliocentric model, the discussion was whether it was the sun or the Earth that was the center of the solar system. But that was not the discussion, you know. And then you kind of excluded the discussion whether the Earth is a flat plane or a ball. So when you say, well, then they said, well, everybody thinks that the Earth is a ball, but it's just a matter of its placement in the solar system. But the idea that the Earth is a ball, in contrast to being a flat plane, is a much more radical idea, and that is kind of excluded from the history books, that was not a discussion. Of course, that would have been a discussion. The thing is that astrology has always based on the fact that the Earth is a flat stationary plane, and so also the astrological praxis is exactly that. And so you could say that with modern astrologers, they are heliocentric in their theory, but in their practice, they are geocentric. And geocentric meaning that you are actually, you are observing the sky the way it looks. I mean, it looks like it is the sun that is moving in the sky. It looks like it is the planets that are moving in the sky. And so that is the astrological practice. But in their head, they make this abstraction and saying, oh, yeah, of course, you know, it's not the sun that is moving. It's because the Earth is spinning around its axis. That's why it looks this way. So that's how astrology thinks. So they are in a kind of a schizophrenic situation because they are heliocentric in their theory, but they're geocentric in their practice. But I adhere to what is called true geocentrism, which means that I am geocentric both in theory and in practice. And I definitely am convinced, and I know that is absolutely the truth. Simple as that. You know, where we live in a flat, stationary plane. There is absolutely no experience of movement. The Earth is not moving, is not a spinning ball. it's a plane of existence. I will come in the end of this to go more deeper into the nature of reality, which is not that physical as we believe, but rather we are in a simulation. The world is a kind of a holographic projection. I would try to get more into that in the end of the video. A little small digression here, because some who watch this video will say, oh, what a clown. Didn't he know that already the Greeks in antiquity knew that the earth was a sphere? Haven't he read the Aristotle and Plato, and that was well known in ancient Greeks, and the philosophers knew that. So everybody knew that the earth was a spinning ball already up until Copernicus. And so that was no news. That's completely nonsense. I don't believe that at all. I mean, if they can lie about the heliocentric model, they can also lie about what the Greeks said. I've been looking into the scriptures of Aristotle and Plato and so on. And he does describe the world as a sphere. Okay, but the world and the earth is not the same. So we can be in a spheric field of existence, right? And the earth is a flat plane of existence. So Ptolemy, who was one of the kind of basic astrologers at that time, he was into that the earth is flat, stationary plane. So I don't believe that nonsense that in antiquity they knew the shape of the earth. And there is this famous Eratosthenes, this Egyptian library guy who made this measurements of the earth. That's a complete fabrication made in our time as a kind of a heliocentric propaganda, because there is a kind of a war going on now, because the cat is out of the sack. People have discovered that actually the earth is flat, and so there is a lot of anti-information out there to kind of criticize that and ridiculous, make that ridiculous, and so on. And one of the things is that this argument that the Greek philosophers and so on, that that Pythagoras and so on knew that the earth was a ball. I don't believe it at all. I don't buy it at all. So anyway, just to make sure that people don't think I'm a complete buffoon. All right. So what was stated so far is that astrology has always been geocentric, and so that is true geocentrism. And the perception of the world is that the sun is not 149 kilometers out in space. No, the sun is local. The sun is maybe only just a couple of thousand kilometers away. So the thing is that you have to visualize that the earth is like a pizza, a flat plane of existence, all right? And then above, also horizontally above the flat plane of existence, there is the solar system. And so the sun is moving around in a circle over our heads. And so in order to make night and day happen, so the thing is, like, you could visualize that the sun is like a torch, and so it lights up half of the earth during the day, and so the other half of the earth there is night, and so it moves around in a circle like this, and then that causes the alternations between day and night. And at the same time, the sun is making a kind of a spiral motion in its rotation. Okay, and so it spirals from the Cancer. What's that? The circle of Cancer, and the what is that called in English? See, I'm Norwegian, so so my thinking is basically Norwegian and English in between. But the circle of Cancer, where the sun is in the zenith position in the vernal equinox, and at the same time you go back to the circle of Capricorn, right? And so that's the way you get the seasons of the year, all right? So you have to kind of understand that kind of mechanism of the movement of the sun, and so the sun is making a circle its motion, okay? And that is the ecliptic, okay? So the ecliptic is not if you say the ecliptic today, people will say, "Oh, that's the path of the Earth around the sun." So that's the ecliptic. But in geocentric astrology, it is the path of the sun which is the ecliptic. A very important point to understand flat Earth astrology. Okay, and so the moon is also following the ecliptic. And so when you have a new moon, the sun and the moon is in a conjunction. They're at the same position in the circle, in the ecliptic. But the moon moves much faster, but it follows the same path. It moves much faster. And so when it's a full moon, the moon will be on the opposite side of the sun, and then you will have a full moon. And okay, so the moon in itself is a big topic. And the moon is not a reflection of sunlight, okay? The moon is shining by itself. And so you have two lights in the sky. You have the sun at daytime and you have the moon in nighttime. It's a qualitative different light source. There is all kinds of different qualities to the sunlight in opposed to the moonlight. So it's not a reflection. The moon is not a mirror. And it can't be a mirror if the moon is a ball, whatever it is. We don't know what the moon is. I don't know what the moon is. It's a light phenomenon. It's electric magnetic light phenomenon. So I don't know what the moon is, and you definitely cannot land with a spaceship or anything on the moon. That's a complete farce. Okay. Anyway, so this is a little bit about the sun and the moon. And one of the differences with the moon, that you can measure the temperature of the moonlight, and so the thing is that moonlight is colder than the shadow, which is you can measure with a temperature with a thermometer. Okay, the moonlight is colder in the shadow than the shadow, and with the sun it's of course opposite. That the sun is warmer, much warmer, where it was, but warmer than the shadow. So that's two different qualities that really proves physically that the moon is not a reflection of the sun. The moon is shining by itself. You can even see that. Anyway, so there is a whole lot of topics that needs to be covered here to get a full understanding of it. So you have to watch additional videos on this topic to get a full kind of view of what's going on. So an important point is that you have to understand, understanding astrology and understanding flat Earth astrology is, what is the zodiac? Okay, so the astrology is based on two components, really. It's based on the zodiac, which is the 12 zodiac signs, and it's based on the planets, the 10 planets. Okay. But let's talk about the zodiac first, and the zodiac is the ecliptic. It's identical with the ecliptic. That is the zodiac, and so a circle is 360 degrees. Okay, and so what you do with those 360 degrees is that you divide them into 12, and then you get 12 cake pieces of 30 degrees each, and those 3 pieces of the circle, that are the zodiac signs. Okay, and so the zodiac is a circle of growth and movement, of change. It's a kind of a universal knowledge that is inherent in the creation, a circle of change, which you can see throughout the year. So you can say that the first sign of the zodiac is Aries, starting the 21st of March, and starting the spring. And so that infuses nature with a certain kind of energy. And that is that it's starting new things. There is this vibrant inspiration and optimism. And so seeds are planted and nature starts to wake up. Okay, and so this vibrant energy of inspiration is in nature, and nature is permeated with this kind of energy. And so what happens is that things that are started or being born at that moment carries that kind of impression within it. And so therefore, people born in Aries, like me, okay, I'm an Aries, and therefore they have this attitude or mentality or psychology, if you want, of being enthusiastic, starting new things, hitting first and asking questions later, impatient and self-occupied and pain in the ass, would many say, and so on. But they start things, they get things happening and going. And so then you come, when nature moves along, you get into a more stable period in nature, where you have to weed the weeds in the garden and cut the grass, and so Taurus comes into the picture, and so Taurus is this kind of stable energy, and then you get into Gemini, and then you have a lot of communication and movement and fertilization in nature and so on, and the birds tries to mate. The mating season starts, and so Geminis are these flirtation types, and moving all over the place to check out a new partner and so on, and where's the next party and so on, and so it goes. And then after the parties, they found a mate, and what then happens? They get children, all right, and so then you have Cancer. And then Cancer is all about family, okay? Nurturing children and so on. And then the children grow up, and then it's time for having fun and play. And then you move into Leo, okay? And so when it's still summer, and it's still warm, and it's still beautiful, and you have a lot of fun, that's what Leo is all about. And playing with your kids and family parties and celebration, that's all about Leo, okay? And so, and then you move into, and then the summer is kind of ending, and then you have to harvest the seasons and so on. And then Virgo comes into the picture. And then you go to Libra and the Scorpio and the Sagittarius and Capricorn and Aquarius and Pisces. So that is the full cycle of change, which is a universal change of consciousness within the physical world and in the mental world and in the spiritual world. So that's just a short introduction to the zodiac. And so, but the point here is that the zodiac is identical with the ecliptic. Okay, here comes a big difference to the let's say something about that. There are two types of zodiac. There are what is called the tropical zodiac, and there is what is called the sidereal zodiac. So the tropical zodiac is the ecliptic, okay, and also in Western astrology, they do the same thing. They divide the ecliptic, which is in heliocentric astrology. The ecliptic is the path of the Earth, but they take the path of the Earth and they divide that into 12 sections, following the same circle of 360 degrees. So it's the same logic, but it's a very kind of what kind of meaning does that have? That the cycle of the Earth. So that's a kind of a little bit illogical in my mind, and which astrology runs into a big problem, which is why astrology works from the Western point of view. And so, as I think it was Robert Hand who said, astrology is really bullshit, but it's bullshit that works. I'm not sure if he said it just that way, but that's the thing, that the logical foundation for astrology, the way it is being presented today, is absurd. And so therefore, people who are into science, they just shake their head and say that astrology is complete nonsense. And in one sense it is. The way astrology is being presented today is nonsense, but it works. So people like me, or astrologers who have been working with astrology for a long time, seeing clients and watching and reading thousands of horoscopes, we see that this works. There is some phenomenal correlations. I mean, you can. I can see what kind of relation people have to their parents, what kind of neurotic patterns they have, even before speaking to them, before they come in the door. And very often, I'm able to address these issues. I had one guy who told me, what you told me now in the first 30 seconds of this consultation, my psychologist spent 3 months to figure that out, That's how effective astrology is. It really works. Trust me. Anyway, so, but okay, this is going to be a little bit of chaotic video. But anyway, when it comes to the interpretation of the chart, there is not that much difference between going flat Earth. So it's still the same symbolism, and you don't need to learn everything from the beginning again. But what is happening when you understand that the Earth is flat? There is some basic changes to the concept of astrology, and that is what I'm trying to kind of describe in this video. So be patient, and we will take these subjects probably in a little bit chaotic order, but we'll see where it goes. So what I would try to say now was the difference between the tropical zodiac and the sidereal zodiac. So the tropical zodiac is the ecliptic. Okay, so that's good. But the sidereal zodiac, that's something else. That is the actual constellation in the sky. And so there you have the star pictures, like you have Aries, Taurus, and so on. And that makes a circle around the Earth. And that's a kind of a band of fixed stars, of the constellations. And that seems very nice, because then that makes the zodiac into something physical. Okay. And so therefore there are astrological systems that use the sidereal zodiac instead of the tropical zodiac. So Western astrology in general uses the tropical zodiac. So just to get that out of the picture. And so, but like Indian astrology, they use the sidereal zodiac. And the thing is that there is a difference between the sidereal zodiac and the tropical zodiac, about 21 degrees. And then what happens is that if you convert, if I should go to Indian astrology, I'm not a double Aries anymore, with a Libra rising. No, I will become a double Pisces with Virgo rising. And anybody who knows a little bit about my personality, that is completely off the wall. I'm not going to be this kind of sensitive, emotional, deeply poetic Pisces who sits there and writes, listens to music all day or whatever he does. No. So I must say that the sidereal zodiac is totally wrong. And what they do in Indian astrology, they say that, oh yeah, it's the sidereal zodiac, which is the original zodiac. And so that the tropical zodiac is a derivation of the sidereal zodiac. I think it is the other way around. I think that the tropical zodiac is the original zodiac. But what happened for about 3,000 years ago, then the first degree of Aries was in alignment with the fixed stars. And so the fixed stars, the animal pictures of the constellations is a projection of the tropical zodiac at a time where there was a complete alignment. Because when you look at these stars, it's not that obvious that you can see a Leo, you can see a Virgo, you can see a Libra. No, you can't. You got to have a very strong imagination to kind of create those kind of constellation images. So I believe, this is my personal view, so I think that the sidereal zodiac is a projection of the tropical zodiac at a time where there was a complete alignment. There wasn't this difference between of 21 degrees, which has its cause in the what is that called? That there is a movement of the whole system of 1 degree every 72 years. Maybe we'll come back to that later. It has to do with the ages, that we are in the age of Aquarius and so on. And so because of this backward movement of the constellations in relation to the ecliptic, the Western astrology, they do this adjustment all the time to make sure that the vernal equinox is at the 21st of March every year. And I think that Indian astrology should do the same. That there will probably somewhere in those that they have forgotten that the ancient Indian astrologers probably said that, hey, remember to adjust the zodiac every year, okay? Or at least every 72 years, you have to adjust it 1 degree. And since they haven't done that, they get a zodiac which is completely out of proportions with the original zodiac. That's my view on the difference between the zodiac, the tropical zodiac and the sidereal zodiac. And also, I think that's a major mistake in Indian astrology. Simple as that. And that's also why in Indian astrology they don't place they place the first. The most important in Indian astrology is the ascendant. There comes the moon, and then comes the sun. In Western astrology, it's completely opposite. But anyway, so I'm not that well versed in Indian astrology, and I'm absolutely sure that they can get good results with that system. But I think definitely they have a complete wrong understanding of the zodiac, which is, I think there is actually one zodiac, and that is the tropical zodiac, and the zodiac is the ecliptic. Okay, so so far so good. So when it comes to the planets, there are no planets. There are only stars. That has astrology been saying all along. It's saying there are wandering stars and there are fixed stars. And what we call planets are actually what is called wandering stars. They have their own paths that they follow, okay? And fixed stars, that are the constellations and the fixed stars, and they are fixed in relationship to each other. And so therefore, the fixed stars has been unchanged for thousands of years. And which, you know, is a complete nail in the coffin for anybody who believes that our solar system is moving in these gigantic speeds through the universe. It's just total nonsense, you know. So just this, that, you know, that the sky has been unchanged for 2,000 years, you know, is a complete proof that the Earth is stationary and flat and still. Okay, at least motionless. That's what that proves. Okay, so anyway, so the planets are, I will still call them planets because that is what we use in our language, but they are in fact wandering stars, and so they are lighting by them. They're shining by themselves, which you know, lots of amateur videos out there show clearly that those pictures that we get from NASA of Mars and Jupiter and so on, they're fake. You know, they're made in Photoshop, but real, you know, real-time video of the planets, they show lightning stars that they are shining and they're moving and they're not kind of circular and perfect like that. And so that are the planets, okay? And there is an interesting thing with the planets, are that they're now with the planets and the wandering stars, they are not making perfect circles. They are making circles within circles, and that's already Ptolemy said that. And so the thing is, what the retrograde periods, they are. It's not because of the discrepancy between the motion of the Earth and the motion of Mercury, and that creates the retrograde periods. No, the retrograde periods are real. The planet is actually moving backwards in periods. So why else could you have, when it comes to Mercury, you have 3 or 4 retrograde periods within a year, and they only have a duration of 3 weeks. So the thing is that they move like with semicircles within a circle. That's the way the planets move. That's the retrograde motion. So that's a big difference when it comes to the, what should I say, the astronomy of astrology to understand retrograde motion. Okay, so the thing is that this is one of the changes when you go to flat Earth astrology, is that you get another concept of the solar system. And you get another understanding of the geography and the anatomy of the solar system, and it does not, as I said before, it does not influence the interpretation of the charts that much. So, but another point, now that we have a kind of a certain clarity of what the zodiac is and what the planets are. And so that is the two components of astrology, is the combination of planets and signs and their kind of mathematical proportions, particularly in the aspects between them, which is the different angles in positions. And that has a kind of a huge influence for those who know astrology. And I think, aspects are really important if you want to understand the chart. But anyway, so astrologers, of course, know all this, but there is a big difference when you go to flat Earth astrology, because there is something strange happening with the chart. So the thing is, if you look into Siderial Zodiac, they got one thing right, which is that the Siderial Zodiac, is clockwise. And the Western astrology, the Western heliocentric zodiac, is counterclockwise. Big difference. Okay, and so when you look at a chart, you will notice, that there is two motions of the planet. That means that if you take the sun is moving clockwise during the day and anti-clockwise through the year. And so therefore, and they have chosen in the horoscope, they have chosen the zodiac of the year. And so therefore, the zodiac, the way it's drawn in the chart, is anti-clockwise. And that's completely illogical, because in the flat Earth model, the sun has only one motion, and the motion is clockwise. And so therefore, and the ecliptic being identical to the zodiac, or the other way around, the zodiac being identical to the ecliptic, then the zodiac should be clockwise. That's a big difference. That means that every chart you look at is mirrored, and it's a kind of almost like the Satanists like to do. They like to reverse things, and taking this kind of fundamental circle of change that influences everything in the world. Everything is being influenced under the motion of the changes of the zodiac, and then reversing that. That's a big mistake, or a big crime, or whatever way you want to see it. Of course, it makes sense in the heliocentric model. It makes sense to have these two motions, because you would say that you have two motions of the Earth. You have the motion that it spins around its own axis throughout the day, and so therefore you have that motion in the chart, and then you have the other motion that the Earth is moving around the sun throughout the year. So therefore that makes perfect sense that you have those two motions in the chart. But from the flat Earth perspective, it does not make sense, because the sun only moves in one direction, and it moves in the same direction throughout the day and throughout the year, and therefore the zodiac should follow along and also be clockwise. So that's a big change. And then, but then you need to have to redraw all the horoscopes and mirror them to get them right. And there has to do something with the natural motion, because the natural motion is that following the sun, going east to west, that is the natural movement, instead of going counterclockwise. And then, it does fool your brain a little bit that you're seeing, every time you see the horoscope, you see a reversed and clockwise zodiac. So that's a big point. And even also in David Weiss, in his wonderful Flat Earth app, he doesn't have it right. He has put in a heliocentric zodiac, which is counterclockwise. I tried to get across to him to point this out, but he hasn't kind of paid attention to that. And so that one of the motivations behind this video is to try to get this straight. Okay. And I would just only hope that these genius guys who's making the computer programs, that they would make, a flat Earth version where you could have actually a natural zodiac, which is the same as they do in at least the Siderial Zodiac. They got it right, because they are looking at the constellations, and the constellations are clockwise. Okay. So that was my little rant on that. and which is one of the huge differences between when you introduce flat Earth astrology, that you have to look at another different concept of the solar system, and you have a complete different concept of what actually the zodiac is. Okay, so let me check my notes here a little bit, see what else we need to put into to talk about. Yeah, I think, actually it covers most of this stuff. I said this about retrograde planets. There are some amazing pictures that can be created by putting into a computer the retrograde motions of the planets, and which makes these wonderful, fantastic images. I'll show some of them here, right? And so this is really real, and so there is some deep kind of mathematical patterns that is being shown in the movements of the planets. And so now we actually can come into I should say something about the ages, okay? Yeah, I should say something about the age. There is what was being introduced in the Hair musical in the end of the 1960s, the Hair musical, and there was this song, when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will reign, and we will be in the age, this will be the dawn of the age of Aquarius. Okay, of course, the astrology of this sentence is just nonsense. When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars. I mean, that's just, just astrological language, but which doesn't have any meaning at all. But what does have meaning is the introduction of the age of Aquarius. And that kind of really introduced that concept to the world at that time. And so what that is that there are, we have the cycles of a year. That's how far we can kind of see the cycles of nature. But there are much longer cycles, and there is the what is called the precession of the equinoxes. That means that there is this motion of the heavens, or the star constellations, are moving backwards in the zodiac 1 degree every 72 years. And when you then take 30 and multiply that by 30, you get 30 degrees. And then you get 2,400 something, which is then a whole sign. And that means that there is this whole period which becomes an age, okay? And that means that all events in the world gets under influence and in subtle ways of that zodiac sign. And so we've been through the period of Pisces, and now we're into the age of Aquarius. A big change. And so, and the thing is that I'm a little bit skeptical about the age of Aquarius, because I don't think it's going to be if you say the higher sides of Aquarius is humanism and intelligence and understanding and brotherhood and holistic thinking, and so that's very promising. If it is the higher sides of Aquarius that will be in manifestation in the next 2,000 years. We're just in, as Pluto now has entered the sign of Aquarius, which it did, a couple of months ago, and it's within this year, it's going to have within a year or two, it's going to be permanently into Aquarius. And I think that is the definite mark of the entrance into the age of Aquarius, which with Pluto's arrival in Aquarius. But anyway, so I'm a little bit more nervous than I think it's more it's going to be the lower sides of Aquarius that we're going to see. And Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Don't forget that. I'm completely, dogmatic about traditional rulership. That Saturn is ruling Aquarius. Okay. Mars is ruling Scorpio, and Jupiter is ruling Pisces, to your knowledge. Okay. Anyway, so I'm absolutely fan of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Very important, absolutely, but not as rulers of signs. Anyway, so the point is that what we're seeing now is that technology is ruling the world, and that is exactly what Aquarius is about. So what we can have is that we're moving into some kind of technological dictatorship, which will be completely in the spirit of Aquarius. Okay, we'll get this high-tech society where you will own nothing and everybody will be happy. All right, I don't think so. Okay, so I think that's what Age of Aquarius has in store for us, is this kind of high-tech society, which can be used for very, very good purposes, but it can also be misused and completely disempower us and create dictatorship. That's possibilities. But anyway, so that was just a little bit of the ages, and so we are within cycles within cycles. So if you are really interested in understanding more about flat Earth, I think it's very important to consider what some has discovered, that there are some flaws, there are some mistakes also in the flat Earth model, that the flat Earth model is a simplification, and things are a little bit more complex. And there is this YouTube channel of this guy, I can't remember his name, I think he resides in New Zealand. It's called the Tomb of Illumination. He has this. He turns out a video every day, and I think he got it really right when it comes to understanding the universe or the world from an electromagnetic perspective. And so it's really worth listening to him. He's not that good explaining things, so you need to have patience. You have to look at several of his videos to get his worldview, but I really think he is the front guy on this topic at the moment, and I've spent some time trying to understand his view. And the thing is that what I'll just try to explain it in a very simple way. And so the thing is that we are within a torus field, okay, and this is, and so the world is an electromagnetic phenomenon, and we are in this torus electromagnetic field, and the Earth is a flat plane of inertia. Like in a magnet, you have, between the North Pole and the South Pole, you will have a plane of inertia in the middle, and that's where our life is happening. Okay, and but the thing is that within the core of the field, there is a spiralic motion, which is described in the Bible and other esoteric sources, Nordic mythology, and so on. There is the tree of life, and so within that spiral, that's the tree of life. That's where the solar system is. That's where all the planets, the motions of the planets, are taking place. And the thing is that we can't see that. That is beyond. That's kind of out. We don't have the ability to see that. But what we're seeing is a projection of what is happening in the core of the field. There happens a projection into our world, like a mirroring, okay, or a holographic projection. And so that is actually what we're seeing. So we're not actually seeing the real sun, but we are seeing a projection of the sun, which is local to the observer. I'm struggling with that one, but still, so you should look at his the Tomb of Illumination. You should try to look, because he is introducing some really, really good stuff. I must admit, he's absolutely onto something. So it's really, it's worthwhile if you want to get this right. I'm just trying to give an introduction to the concept. But what is so fascinating with this is that this picture of the astrologer who is peeking out through the kind of the firmament. He is looking out through, and then he sees the inner workings of the solar system. It's so precise, that kind of ancient picture, right, made in the Middle Ages or whatever, which all astrologers have seen everywhere, that picture. But it's so accurate, according to this understanding, that he is actually looking into the inner workings of the solar system, where the actual solar system is, where the actual stars are, and so on. And our world is a kind of a holographic projection of that kind of inner core. So that brings us back to trying to understand what astrology really is. And as I say it, like an analogy that I think is pretty accurate in a sense, that if you take a look at a computer, what happens in a computer is that it's made of two signals, 0 and 1. And it's the electronic signals of 0 and 1, they turn it off and put it on. And so it's the mathematical combinations of those two figures that is creating all the graphics that you are experiencing on a computer screen or a TV or whatever it is, right? So it's the mathematical combinations of two figures that actually creates the whole the graphic in a computer. And so one could imagine that our world is made in a similar fashion, but just with so much higher resolution, so much faster downloading, and with instant downloading and so on, and so well made that everybody thinks it's real. Okay, so I think that we are in this kind of simulation, and it's made after the same principles and you can find that in all mythologies. Like in the first sentence in the Bible, it says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Okay, so that means that God was before the beginning. Okay, and so there is this unlimited potential, as the quantum physics call it, or there is God, or there is consciousness or existence, which is able to project itself like we dream at night. It's able to dream this world into existence, and that takes place when that you have to have a basic polarity of heaven and earth, or yin and yang, or positive and negative. Okay, and from that basic polarity, you get more polarities and more through mathematical combinations. Okay, and so through the mathematical combinations, this world is being created, but which, much better technology, because there is a better, inventor of the whole thing. Okay, so this is where astrology comes into the picture, because what astrology is a researching or understanding of the mathematical combinations between the planets and the stars. That's the whole thing. So as Dane Rudyard said, astrology is the algebra of life. So astrology is basically mathematics. It's the symbology of mathematics. That is astrology. And so what we're actually looking at is that astrology probably is the computer language of our virtual reality. And that makes astrology into science. And that is maybe why astrology was the first original science. Okay. And so we had mathematics and physics, which was basically derived from astrology, because they wanted to understand, what should I say, God's own language, the computer language of the world. Okay. And so if you have this perspective on astrology, you certainly realize all of a sudden how little you know. And I think that's maybe a quality of any discipline, that when you really get into something, you start understanding how little you know. And that definitely, so what I perceive of astrology, that we're only scratching a surface of the potential of astrology, because astrology is, as I say, the computer language of our virtual reality. Okay. So, this is kind of basic, deep cosmology and philosophy and so on, which I have discussed elsewhere. Basically, my most of my talks are in Norwegian, so that's unfortunate for the international audience. I've also written a book about flat Earth astrology. It's called Jorden er flat in Norwegian, Waking Up from the Matrix of Life. Maybe, if I feel inspired, might be worthwhile translating into a more international language, but we'll see. People are not that hot on books these days. They want to have things on video, and so that's why I present this video here. So this being said, for those few who has been following this far in the video, so the thing is, as I said in the beginning, that astrologers are few, and astrology is really in a crisis, because very few want to learn the real astrology. I mean, many people are interested in astrology, but to do the work to really learn it, it's like learning a new language or playing a musical instrument, and you really have to learn the basics and so on. But it's a fascinating knowledge, and it's as I say, it's a fundamental science. So one of the things that is the advantage of going flat Earth on astrology is that it converts astrology from being this kind of wishy-washy symbolic language that nobody really understands how it works. As it was said, it's bullshit, but it works. Okay, still, but from a flat Earth perspective, it's not bullshit anymore. Okay, then it's real science. It's about one of the deepest causes of creation, which is, as I said, okay, many times now, it goes into understanding the mathematical combinations between the planets and the stars and so on, which is the inner intelligence behind our world. So that's what astrology is. So that's a huge change, and then it can bring astrology back to the forefront of science. If this understanding is being perceived, which will probably take some time. Anyway, so being a flat Earth astrology is somewhat of a rarity, because within flat Earth community there are very, very few flat Earthers, and it was actually an astrologer, Santos Bonacci, who first gave me the idea that the Earth could be flat. And I thought, first he said that in a kind of a passing sentence. Some years ago, I listened to a video, and then I thought, this guy now he's completely lost it or something. That was my first thought. And I said, hey, listen, this is a smart guy. Why? How can he think that way? This is I respect this guy. He has a lot of knowledge, right? So therefore, I had to kind of take this seriously, and then what are the arguments for and against that someone believes this crazy idea that the Earth being flat? Are you insane? And so it didn't take me very long. I listened to David Weiss, who had a very short presentation. Just he was given 20 minutes to present it towards, and another guy, professor of some kind, he had 20 minutes to present his view, and David Weiss had all the arguments, and I was. Within quite some short time, I was pretty convinced that this is reality. So, and there is Mark Knight. He with the Wakey. He's a flat Earth astrologer, but that's all I know of. And I've been trying to introduce some of my astrological friends to this concept, but then they are, they think that I've completely lost it, right? As many do. Okay, so I think this is the end of it. It's not so systematic, and so I can only encourage those who are into astrology that is a big inspiration to get a more accurate concept of the solar system, and that's really what the heliocentric model is all about. It's really about a fundamental alienation towards nature, that we completely lose touch with the natural cycles of nature and the solar system and the sky. And that they used to have, our calendar is completely out of sync, right? It's out of sync with the moon phases. It's out of sync with the astrological signs. It's out of sync with the seasons and so on. So this is a very deep distortion that takes place with the heliocentric model, and on purpose. That's why this subject is so important, because the heliocentric model is the modern day religion of our world. It's a worldview. It's a synthetic worldview that alienates us from nature and disconnects us from our natural environment, which distorts our thinking and our relation to nature and so on. And I think that is the purpose, one of the purposes behind the heliocentric deception. And I highly recommend ODD TV has made I can't remember what is the name of that video. It's called something Flat Earth and Beyond. He has an excellent presentation of exactly this, the alienation of the synthetic worldview of the heliocentric model. I'll try to put the link down below for that video. I love that one. But there are other connections, other videos worthwhile seeing. Air One What on Earth Happened, or The Lost History of Flat Earth. Those 2 5-hour videos are just amazing. And he has some really, really good clues on particularly the cycles, which has to do with that the pole star, the Polaris, actually is also making a rotation, and that is the real cause of the bigger cycles within cycles, and so on. So there is a lot of stuff that you can move on to connect the dots in this kind of new picture. And if you're just into flat Earth but don't know much about astrology, then probably this video hasn't made much sense. But it would be really nice if that could be corrected. To remember that the flat Earth zodiac is clockwise and not counterclockwise. So, okay, I think I covered most of what I have on my mind on this subject. And that's pretty much it. And so therefore, enjoy the day and have a still wonderful incarnation on this wonderful flat plane of existence. So just a little end note. I hope you enjoyed that video so far. And this concept, as I introduce here in the end, like that we are within a matrix, masterly described in the Matrix movies. This concept, I haven't kind of gone too much into details of describing what I mean by that. And so I've made a previous video 5 years ago, actually, where it's called What is Under the Flat Earth? And there I go more into the philosophical, metaphysical concepts, because that has to do with a basic philosophical worldview of what this reality is. And so I explain that in more detail. And that is basically introducing an idealistic perspective. That means that the world is a consciousness phenomenon. This is a kind of a huge topic, and it goes into what is consciousness and what is the reality of the world. And I've not taken this subject this deep into this video, but there is a follow-up video if you would like to have an introduction to what kind of metaphysical speculations I have around that concept of that astrology is the computer language of our virtual reality. So that's if you want more of this, there is this previous video made 5 years ago. Okay, so still have a nice day.